Nearly 2,000 years ago, beneath the quiet shadow of Mount Vesuvius, there stood a beautiful Roman city where life seemed peaceful, prosperous, and completely ordinary. Every morning, bakers filled the streets with the smell of fresh bread, merchants opened their shops, and families went about their daily routines without the slightest idea that history was about to change forever. Within a single day, Pompeii would disappear beneath volcanic ash, preserving an entire city for nearly 2,000 years. Before we uncover the truth, take a moment to like this video and subscribe if you enjoy relaxing journeys through history. Now, dim the lights, settle into a comfortable position, and let your imagination carry you to the peaceful Roman city of Pompeii, where life seemed as ordinary as any other day beneath the towering slopes of Mount Vesuvius. This is the true story of Pompeii. Long before Mount Vesuvius became one of history's most infamous volcanoes, it was simply another mountain overlooking the beautiful Bay of Naples. Its gentle slopes were covered with vineyards, olive trees, orchards, and fertile farmland that stretched toward the sparkling Mediterranean Sea. Every season rewarded the people living nearby with abundant harvests, and for generations the mountain had been regarded not as a danger, but as a generous provider. The rich volcanic soil allowed farmers to grow some of the finest grapes and olives in Italy, producing wines that were enjoyed across the Roman world. To the people who lived beneath its shadow, Vesuvius represented prosperity, stability, and the promise of another successful harvest. At the foot of this peaceful mountain stood Pompeii, a thriving Roman city located only a short distance from the coastline. Although today its name is forever linked with tragedy, Pompeii spent most of its history as a prosperous commercial center where merchants, craftsmen, farmers, sailors, and wealthy landowners built comfortable lives. Around 12,000 people are believed to have lived within the city walls during the 1st century AD, while thousands more worked the surrounding countryside. Compared with Rome, Pompeii was a relatively small city, yet it possessed everything necessary for a prosperous urban life. Wide stone streets connected elegant homes with busy marketplaces, public baths, temples, workshops, gardens, and theaters, creating a city that reflected both Roman engineering and the relaxed lifestyle of southern Italy. Pompeii's success was closely tied to its remarkable location. The Bay of Naples served as one of the busiest maritime regions in the western Mediterranean, allowing merchant ships to arrive daily, carrying goods from distant provinces of the Roman Empire. Amphorae filled with olive oil from Hispania, fine glass from Syria, spices from the eastern Mediterranean, luxurious fabrics from Egypt, marble from Greece, and countless other products passed through the region. At the same time, Roman roads connected Pompeii with neighboring towns such as Herculaneum, Nuceria, Stabiae, and the larger city of Naples. These routes allowed people, ideas, and merchandise to move quickly, making Pompeii an active participant in the vast commercial network that united much of Europe, North Africa, and the Near East under Roman rule. Yet Pompeii itself was older than the Roman Empire. Long before Roman soldiers marched through its gates, the area had been settled by the Oscans, an Italic people who established one of the earliest communities in the region centuries before the birth of Christ. Later, Greek colonies expanded across southern Italy, bringing new artistic styles, trade opportunities, and religious traditions. After them came the Samnites, who left their own cultural mark upon the city before Rome gradually absorbed the region during the Social War in the 1st century BC. Rather than replacing what had existed before, Roman civilization blended with these earlier influences. Walking through Pompeii in the 1st century AD meant encountering a city shaped by hundreds of years of cultural exchange, where architecture, language, religion, and daily customs reflected a fascinating mixture of traditions. Under Roman administration, Pompeii entered one of the most prosperous periods in its history. Wealthy families invested in magnificent villas decorated with colorful frescoes and intricate mosaic floors. Public baths became important gathering places where citizens relaxed, exercised, and discussed the latest news. Aqueducts delivered fresh water into fountains, private homes, and public buildings through an impressive network of lead pipes and reservoirs. Skilled artisans produced jewelry, pottery, bronze tools, furniture, and beautiful wall paintings that demonstrated both technical mastery and artistic talent. Bakers operated dozens of commercial ovens throughout the city, while fishermen supplied fresh seafood from the bay, and farmers filled the markets with vegetables, fruit, grain, cheese, and wine harvested from the surrounding countryside. Looking back from the modern world, it may seem difficult to understand why anyone would willingly build a city beside a volcano. The answer lies in knowledge, or rather, the absence of it. The science of volcanology did not exist. There were no geological surveys, no seismic monitoring stations, and no understanding of the immense forces hidden beneath the Earth's surface. Most importantly, Vesuvius had remained quiet for so many generations that almost no living memory of its earlier eruptions survived. To the people of Pompeii, it was simply a mountain that had always been there. Children grew up playing beneath its slopes. Farmers trusted its fertile soil, and travelers admired its beauty from ships crossing the bay. Nothing about its peaceful appearance suggested that unimaginable power rested beneath the green landscape. As another summer morning approached in the year AD 79, the people of Pompeii prepared to begin another ordinary day. Bakers lit their ovens before sunrise, merchants arranged their goods for the morning market, fishermen returned with their first catch, and families opened the doors of their homes to welcome the cool Mediterranean breeze. Above them all, Mount Vesuvius stood in complete silence, watching over the city exactly as it had for generations. No one could have imagined that this familiar mountain, trusted for centuries as the source of life and prosperity, would soon become the instrument through which Pompeii would enter history forever. As the first rays of sunlight spread across the Bay of Naples, Pompeii slowly awakened to another ordinary morning. The city had followed this peaceful rhythm for generations, and nothing about this particular day seemed unusual. Long before the streets filled with people, bakers were already awake, lighting their wood-fired ovens, while the cool air of dawn still lingered between the stone buildings. Fresh dough, prepared hours earlier, was carefully shaped into round loaves before being placed into glowing ovens. Soon, the warm aroma of freshly baked bread drifted through the quiet streets, becoming one of the first signs that a new day had begun. Bread was the foundation of everyday Roman life, and Pompeii was home to more than 30 commercial bakeries. Centuries later, archaeologists would uncover many of these bakeries almost exactly as they had been left, complete with millstones, ovens, and even carbonized loaves of bread, offering an extraordinary glimpse into the daily routines of an ancient city. Nearby, donkeys patiently walked in circles, turning heavy volcanic millstones that ground wheat into fine flour. These mills had operated almost every day for decades, producing the bread that fed thousands of residents. As the city continued to awaken, merchants unlocked the wooden shutters of their shops and carefully arranged colorful displays of fruit, vegetables, pottery, olive oil, wine, jewelry, woven baskets, and imported goods. Every storefront reflected the confidence of a thriving economy. Farmers from the surrounding countryside entered the city through its gates, with carts loaded with grapes, figs, onions, herbs, wheat, and fresh produce harvested only hours earlier. Fishermen returned from the Bay of Naples, carrying baskets filled with sea bream, mullet, squid, and shellfish that would soon appear on market tables. Skilled craftsmen opened workshops where bronze tools, furniture, jewelry, leather goods, and beautifully painted frescoes were produced by experienced hands. Blacksmiths prepared their furnaces, potters stacked newly fired vessels, and textile workers displayed brightly dyed fabrics that attracted customers from across the region. Pompeii was not merely a pleasant town. It was a prosperous economic center connected to one of the largest trading networks the ancient world had ever known. Throughout the streets, children ran between houses, laughing as they played simple games using wooden toys, cloth balls, and smooth stones gathered from nearby roads. Their parents watched from doorways while continuing the familiar tasks of another ordinary morning. Inside elegant Roman homes, known as domus, breakfast was already being prepared. Bread, olives, cheese, fruit, and diluted wine formed the simple morning meal for many families, while wealthier households enjoyed additional foods such as honey, eggs, or imported delicacies. Open courtyards filled the homes with sunlight, reflecting from colorful frescoes, marble columns, and carefully maintained gardens where fountains gently flowed throughout the day. Fresh water reached the city through an advanced system of aqueducts that supplied public fountains, baths, workshops, and many private houses, demonstrating the remarkable engineering achievements of the Roman world. Beyond the residential neighborhoods, the forum slowly filled with citizens, beginning another day of business, politics, religion, and commerce. Magistrates discussed legal matters beneath elegant colonnades, while priests prepared offerings inside magnificent temples dedicated to Jupiter, Apollo, Venus, and other Roman gods. Public baths, among the most popular social spaces in the city, were cleaned and heated in preparation for visitors who would arrive later to exercise, relax, bathe, and exchange the latest news. Life moved forward with quiet confidence because every part of Pompeii appeared secure and prosperous. Buildings were well maintained, businesses flourished, harvests remained abundant, and the peaceful silhouette of Mount Vesuvius overlooked the city exactly as it always had. No one paused to study the mountain. No one questioned its silence. To every resident, it was simply another beautiful summer morning beneath a familiar sky. Yet beneath those green slopes, far below the vineyards and orchards that had brought prosperity for centuries, pressure had already begun building deep inside the earth. Hidden from every eye in Pompeii, nature was preparing to rewrite history forever. Stepping inside a Roman home in Pompeii was like entering a world hidden from the busy streets outside. Behind simple stone walls and modest wooden doors lay elegant interiors designed not only for comfort, but also to display the wealth and social status of the family who lived there. The homes of prosperous citizens, known as domus, followed architectural designs that had developed over centuries, combining beauty, practicality, and a deep appreciation for art. Although each house differed in size and decoration, many shared a similar layout that modern archaeologists have been able to reconstruct in remarkable detail thanks to the preservation of Pompeii beneath volcanic ash. Visitors entering through the front doorway usually arrived in the atrium, the central hall of the house. Above this spacious room was an opening in the roof called the compluvium, allowing sunlight and rainwater to enter. Beneath it stood a shallow pool known as the impluvium, where rainwater was collected before being stored for household use. This simple but effective design helped cool the home during the hot Mediterranean summers while providing a reliable source of water. Around the atrium were bedrooms, offices, dining rooms, and private family spaces, each carefully arranged to balance privacy with hospitality. Wealthier homes extended even farther, leading into beautiful interior gardens called peristyles. Surrounded by graceful marble columns, these peaceful courtyards contained flowers, small trees, fountains, statues, and carefully trimmed shrubs. Birds often visited these gardens, and the gentle sound of flowing water created an atmosphere of calm that contrasted with the lively streets beyond the walls. For many Roman families, the garden was not simply decorative. It served as a place for conversation, reading, relaxation, and welcoming guests during pleasant weather. One of the most remarkable features of Pompeii's homes was their decoration. Walls were covered with brightly colored frescoes painted directly onto wet plaster, allowing the pigments to become part of the wall itself as they dried. Many frescoes depicted scenes from Greek mythology, landscapes, architecture, gardens, or theatrical performances, while others created the illusion of larger rooms by painting imaginary windows and distant views. Floors were often decorated with intricate mosaics made from thousands of tiny colored stones, carefully arranged into geometric patterns or detailed pictures of animals, gods, and everyday life. Even today, many of these artworks remain astonishingly vibrant after nearly 2,000 years beneath volcanic ash. Furniture inside Roman homes was surprisingly elegant despite being relatively simple by modern standards. Wooden tables, stools, chests, and couches filled the rooms, often decorated with bronze fittings or carved details. Dining was one of the most important social activities for wealthy Romans, and evening meals frequently took place in a room called the tricinium. Guests reclined on cushioned couches arranged around a low table, while servants brought a succession of dishes that reflected the family's wealth and hospitality. Typical meals included bread, olives, cheese, vegetables, fish, fruit, eggs, and wine, while special occasions featured roasted meats, exotic spices, and imported delicacies from across the empire. Daily life within the household depended heavily upon enslaved workers. Slavery formed an accepted part of Roman society, and many prosperous families owned several enslaved people who prepared meals, cleaned rooms, maintained gardens, educated children, managed finances, or assisted their owners in business. Their lives varied greatly depending on their skills and responsibilities. Some performed physically demanding labor, while others held trusted positions that required education and literacy. Although they lived under the authority of their owners, enslaved people played an essential role in the smooth operation of Roman households and the wider economy. Family itself stood at the center of Roman life. The eldest male, known as the paterfamilias, held legal authority over the household and was responsible for its finances, property, and religious traditions. Women managed many aspects of domestic life, supervised servants, raised children, and often exercised considerable influence within the family, despite having fewer legal rights than men. Children received education according to their family's wealth, learning reading, writing, mathematics, literature, and public speaking if their parents could afford private tutors. Religious practices also formed part of everyday life. Small household shrines, known as lararia, were found in many homes, where families honored protective household gods called the lares. Each day, offerings of food, wine, flowers, or incense might be placed before these shrines, expressing gratitude and asking for continued protection. These quiet rituals reflected the Romans' belief that divine forces were closely connected to ordinary daily life. As sunlight continued pouring into the elegant courtyards of Pompeii, and families carried on with another peaceful morning inside their beautifully decorated homes, no one imagined that these same houses, preserved beneath layers of volcanic ash, would one day become one of the greatest archaeological windows into everyday life in the ancient world. For most residents of Pompeii, daily life extended far beyond the walls of their homes. Each morning, the city's streets gradually filled with activity as thousands of people made their way toward the Forum, the political, religious, and commercial center of the city. Surrounded by impressive public buildings, temples, and colonnades, the Forum served as the heart of Pompeii. Merchants negotiated prices, magistrates settled legal disputes, priests performed religious ceremonies, and citizens gathered to exchange news. It was a place where nearly every aspect of Roman society came together, reflecting the remarkable organization of urban life within the empire. The markets surrounding the Forum offered an astonishing variety of goods. Fresh vegetables, fruit, olives, cheese, bread, fish, and wine were sold alongside imported luxuries such as spices, perfumes, fine glass, silk fabrics, and beautifully crafted jewelry. Bronze scales carefully weighed merchandise, while customers examined pottery, tools, woven baskets, and household items displayed beneath shaded porticos. Many products had traveled hundreds or even thousands of kilometers before reaching Pompeii, demonstrating how closely connected the Roman Empire had become through its extensive network of roads and sea routes. Not everyone prepared meals at home. Throughout Pompeii stood small restaurants known today as thermopolia, where hot food and drinks were served from large clay containers built directly into stone counters. These establishments were especially popular among laborers, travelers, and residents whose homes lacked proper kitchens. Customers could purchase stews, vegetables, bread, wine, or cooked meat, making these businesses surprisingly similar to modern takeaway restaurants. More than 80 thermopolia have been identified in Pompeii, offering valuable insight into the everyday eating habits of ordinary Romans. One of the city's most important social spaces was the public bath. Far more than places for washing, the baths functioned as community centers where people exercised, relaxed, conducted business, and met friends. Visitors typically followed a carefully designed sequence of rooms, beginning in the warm tepidarium, continuing into the hot caldarium, and finally cooling themselves in the cold frigidarium. Advanced heating systems circulated hot air beneath the floors and inside the walls, an impressive engineering achievement that demonstrated the sophistication of Roman technology. Wealthy citizens and ordinary workers alike visited these baths, making them one of the few places where different social classes regularly shared the same space. Entertainment also played an important role in Pompeii's daily life. The city contained 2 theatres where audiences enjoyed comedies, tragedies, poetry, and musical performances. Nearby stood a large amphitheatre capable of seating around 20,000 spectators, making it one of the oldest surviving Roman amphitheatres ever discovered. Here, gladiatorial contests attracted enormous crowds eager to witness displays of courage, skill, and spectacle. Political leaders often sponsored these events to gain public support, while successful gladiators achieved a level of fame that resembled modern sports heroes. Religion remained closely woven into every part of public life. Magnificent temples dedicated to Jupiter, Apollo, Venus, Isis, and other deities stood throughout the city, reminding residents that the favor of the gods was believed to influence everything from successful harvests to military victories. Festivals filled the streets with processions, sacrifices, music, and celebrations that united the community throughout the year. Even small businesses often displayed statues or shrines seeking divine protection over their work and prosperity. To modern eyes, Pompeii appears frozen in time, but to its residents, it was a city constantly moving forward. Markets bustled with trade, bars echoed with conversation, theatres welcomed audiences, and temples received daily worshippers. Every ordinary activity reflected the confidence of a civilization that believed its future would continue much like its past. No one standing in the crowded forum, relaxing in the baths, or enjoying a meal at a neighborhood thermopolium could have imagined that within a matter of days, these familiar places would be buried beneath volcanic ash, preserved almost exactly as they had been on one ordinary Roman morning. In the summer of AD 79, life in Pompeii continued much as it always had. The streets remained busy, the markets were crowded, and the vineyards surrounding the city promised another successful harvest. Yet beneath this appearance of normality, the region had already begun to change in subtle ways that most people either ignored or accepted as part of everyday life. Looking back with modern scientific knowledge, we now recognize these events as warning signs. But to the people of Pompeii, they carried little meaning because no one truly understood the behavior of volcanoes. The first significant warning had actually come years earlier. In AD 62, approximately 17 years before the famous eruption, a powerful earthquake struck the Bay of Naples. Ancient writers, including the Roman philosopher Seneca, described widespread destruction throughout the region. In Pompeii, temples collapsed, houses cracked, public buildings suffered severe damage, and parts of the city's defensive walls required extensive repairs. Even neighboring towns experienced similar destruction. Thousands of residents suddenly found themselves rebuilding homes, businesses, and places of worship. Although the earthquake caused enormous damage, it did not convince people to abandon the city. Earthquakes were relatively common in southern Italy, and most residents believed they were simply unpredictable natural events rather than signs of something greater. Reconstruction began almost immediately. Builders repaired damaged villas, craftsmen restored colorful frescoes, and new public buildings gradually replaced those that had been destroyed. Nearly 2 decades later, construction work was still visible in several parts of Pompeii, showing that the city had never completely finished recovering from the earthquake. Smaller earthquakes continued to occur from time to time. Some were so gentle that they barely interrupted daily life, while others caused furniture to shake or roof tiles to rattle. Most residents had grown accustomed to these occasional tremors. Rather than creating panic, they had become another part of living in the region. Children who had grown up after the great earthquake considered such movements almost ordinary, while older generations believed the mountain had already released its anger years before. Modern volcanologists now understand that these earthquakes were caused by magma slowly moving beneath Mount Vesuvius. As molten rock forced its way upward through underground chambers, enormous pressure built beneath the volcano. The surrounding rock cracked under this pressure, producing repeated earthquakes that served as nature's earliest warnings. But without scientific instruments or geological knowledge, the people of Pompeii had no way of connecting these events to the quiet mountain overlooking their city. There were other subtle changes as well. Ancient accounts suggest that some wells and springs experienced unusual fluctuations in their water levels before their eruption. Animals may also have behaved differently, although reliable historical evidence for this remains limited. Stories describing strange behavior among birds, dogs, and farm animals have survived through later traditions, but historians cannot confirm whether these events truly occurred before the disaster or were added afterward to explain the tragedy. What is certain is that no warning was clear enough to persuade an entire city to leave behind their homes, farms, businesses, and families. For the Romans, Mount Vesuvius still appeared calm and beautiful. Its green slopes remained covered with vineyards, orchards, and forests. Farmers continued working the fertile land, believing the mountain remained the source of their prosperity rather than their greatest danger. Merchant ships continued arriving in the bay. Travelers filled the roads, and life followed its familiar rhythm beneath the peaceful summer sky. History often reminds us that disasters rarely begin with dramatic moments. More often, they begin quietly, almost invisibly, while ordinary life continues around them. In Pompeii, the warning signs had been present for years, but without the knowledge to understand them, they became part of the background of everyday life. As another warm August morning passed over the city, its people continued planning tomorrow's work, tomorrow's meals, and tomorrow's future, never realizing that tomorrow itself was about to disappear. On the morning of August 24th, AD 79, or possibly a few months later, according to more recent archaeological evidence, Pompeii appeared much as it always had. Bakers prepared fresh bread, merchants welcomed their first customers, fishermen returned from the bay, and families continued their daily routines beneath a clear Mediterranean sky. Nothing about the early hours suggested that the city stood only moments away from one of the most extraordinary natural disasters ever witnessed by human eyes. Then, shortly after midday, everything changed. Without warning, Mount Vesuvius erupted with extraordinary force. Deep beneath the mountain, enormous pressure had finally overcome the strength of the surrounding rock. Molten magma, volcanic gases, and shattered stone exploded upward through the summit, producing a gigantic eruption column that rapidly climbed into the atmosphere. Ancient Roman writer Pliny the Younger, watching the event from across the Bay of Naples, later described the cloud as resembling the shape of a great pine tree, rising high into the sky before spreading outward into enormous branches. His eyewitness account remains one of the most valuable descriptions of a volcanic eruption ever recorded. Within minutes, the towering column reached many kilometers into the atmosphere. Ash, pumice, volcanic rock, and hot gases were thrown high above the landscape before beginning their slow descent back toward the Earth. Winds carried much of this material southeast, directly toward Pompeii. At first, many residents were probably confused rather than frightened. Few had ever seen a volcanic eruption, and none understood what the growing cloud truly meant. Some likely gathered outside to watch the unusual spectacle, while others continued hoping it would soon pass. Before long, small white pumice stones began falling onto rooftops, streets, and gardens. At first, they seemed almost harmless, but the shower quickly became heavier. Hour after hour, volcanic debris continued covering the city. Roofs, courtyards, and roads slowly disappeared beneath an ever-deepening layer of lightweight volcanic stone. Walking became increasingly difficult as the streets filled with debris, while visibility steadily decreased beneath the enormous cloud blocking the sunlight. Inside their homes, families faced impossible decisions. Some chose to remain indoors, believing thick walls would protect them. Others gathered valuable possessions and attempted to leave the city before conditions became worse. Archaeologists have discovered coins, jewelry, keys, tools, and packed belongings alongside many victims, suggesting that countless residents tried to escape while carrying whatever they considered most valuable. Unfortunately, the growing layer of pumice made movement slower with every passing hour. Carts struggled to pass through blocked streets, and collapsing roofs created additional dangers throughout the city. As daylight faded beneath the expanding volcanic cloud, Pompeii grew strangely dark. Witnesses described an almost complete absence of sunlight, forcing many people to rely on oil lamps even during the middle of the afternoon. Fine ash filled the air, making it increasingly difficult to breathe or see. Thunder echoed within the eruption column, while flashes of volcanic lightning illuminated the darkness above. What had begun as a peaceful summer day had transformed into a terrifying struggle for survival, unlike anything the people of Pompeii had ever imagined. Yet the worst was still to come. Throughout the afternoon and into the night, Vesuvius continued releasing unimaginable amounts of volcanic material into the sky. The eruption showed no sign of weakening. Every passing hour buried Pompeii more deeply beneath ash and pumice, while deep inside the volcano, an even greater danger was beginning to form, one that would soon decide the fate of the city forever, slowly enough for people to escape. Pyroclastic flows travel with terrifying speed. Modern studies suggest they can reach temperatures between 300 and 700 degrees Celsius, while moving at speeds exceeding 100 kilometers per hour. Everything in their path is overwhelmed within moments. Breathing becomes impossible as scorching gases replace fresh air, while intense heat destroys nearly all living tissue almost instantly. survival is extremely unlikely for anyone caught directly in their path. The first pyroclastic surges struck nearby Herculaneum during the night, overwhelming the coastal town with astonishing speed. Pompeii, located farther from the volcano, was temporarily protected by distance and the direction of the wind, but this brief advantage would not last. As the eruption continued, additional surges grew larger and more powerful, extending farther across the surrounding landscape with each collapse of the eruption column. When one of these massive surges finally reached Pompeii during the early morning hours, the city had little chance of survival. Thick clouds of burning ash swept through streets, houses, temples, workshops, and public squares in only a matter of minutes. Those who had survived the long night beneath falling pumice suddenly faced conditions from which there was almost no escape. Many victims were overcome where they stood. Others remained inside homes, believing solid walls would protect them. Some were discovered near doorways, apparently attempting to flee at the very last moment. For centuries, people believed the citizens of Pompeii had died mainly from being buried beneath volcanic ash. Modern archaeological and forensic research tells a more complex story. While collapsing roofs and falling debris certainly claimed many lives, numerous victims were killed by the extreme heat and toxic gases carried within the pyroclastic surges. Their deaths occurred so rapidly that many bodies remained in the exact positions where they had spent their final moments. The famous plaster casts displayed in Pompeii today reveal these final moments with remarkable humanity. During excavations in the 19th century, archaeologists discovered that many bodies had completely decomposed, leaving hollow spaces inside the hardened volcanic deposits. By carefully filling these cavities with plaster, they created detailed casts that preserved the final posture of each victim. Some appear to be protecting loved ones. Others cover their faces, while a few still clutch personal belongings they hope to save. These silent figures continue to remind visitors that Pompeii was not simply an archaeological site. It was once a living city filled with ordinary people whose lives ended within the space of a single catastrophic event. As the final pyroclastic surges passed across the city, Pompeii disappeared beneath meters of ash and volcanic debris. Streets, homes, temples, markets, and gardens vanished from sight. The sounds of daily life that had filled the city only hours earlier were replaced by complete silence. Beneath that silent blanket of ash, an entire Roman world had been sealed away, untouched by time, waiting nearly 17 centuries before human eyes would see it again. When the eruption finally came to an end, Pompeii had disappeared from the surface of the earth. Nearly 6 meters of volcanic ash and debris covered the city, hiding its streets, homes, temples, markets, and gardens beneath a silent grey landscape. From a distance, there was little evidence that a thriving Roman community had ever existed there. The familiar sounds of merchants, children, blacksmiths, and public life were gone. Only the quiet slopes of Mount Vesuvius remained, standing above the destruction as if nothing had happened. For those who survived, life had to begin again elsewhere. Families who escaped carried little more than the clothes they wore and whatever possessions they had managed to save during the chaos. Friends and relatives searched desperately for missing loved ones, often never discovering what had become of them. Entire households vanished without leaving written records, while property, businesses, and generations of family history disappeared beneath the ash. The Roman Empire itself soon turned its attention toward rebuilding nearby towns, rather than uncovering the city that had been lost. Gradually, the exact location of Pompeii faded from memory. Nature quietly took control. Rain slowly hardened the volcanic ash into a protective layer that sealed buildings from wind, sunlight, and human activity. Wooden furniture decayed, but stone walls remained standing. Delicate wall paintings survived because they were no longer exposed to weather. Household objects stayed exactly where they had been left. Cooking pots remained on stoves. Tools rested inside workshops, and coins still lay inside purses that no one would open for centuries. Without anyone realizing it, the eruption had created one of the most extraordinary archaeological time capsules in human history. For nearly 1,700 years, Pompeii slept beneath the earth. Farmers cultivated fields above the buried city without knowing what lay beneath their feet. Travelers crossed the region unaware that an entire Roman world remained preserved below them. Empires rose and fell. Medieval kingdoms appeared and disappeared. The Renaissance transformed Europe. Yet Pompeii remained hidden, waiting silently beneath layers of volcanic ash. Everything began to change in the 18th century. During the reign of King Charles of Bourbon, workers digging in the region uncovered ancient walls, inscriptions, and statues unlike anything they expected to find. At first, excavations focused on recovering valuable works of art for royal collections. But as more structures emerged from the ground, scholars realized they had discovered something far more important than buried treasure. They had found an entire Roman city, preserved with astonishing detail. Unlike most ancient cities, which had been rebuilt over countless generations, Pompeii offered an almost uninterrupted snapshot of everyday life during the 1st century AD. Archaeologists could walk along original streets, enter private homes, examine shops, temples, taverns, workshops, and gardens exactly where they had stood before the eruption. Political slogans remained painted on walls. Graffiti written by ordinary citizens could still be read. Even food, tools, furniture, and household decorations revealed how people had lived nearly 2,000 years earlier. The discovery transformed archaeology itself. Pompeii became one of the first sites where researchers realized that ordinary objects could tell stories just as important as kings, emperors, or famous battles. A simple loaf of bread, a child's toy, a doctor's surgical instrument, or a shopkeeper's scales could reveal details about everyday life that no ancient historian had ever recorded. Instead of learning only how rulers lived, historians could finally understand how ordinary families worked, ate, worshipped, traded, and spent their days. Today, millions of visitors walk through Pompeii every year, following the same streets once traveled by Roman citizens nearly 2 millennia ago. The city is no longer remembered only for the tragedy that destroyed it, but also for the remarkable knowledge it preserved. Through its streets, homes, and silent ruins, Pompeii continues to teach us not only how an ancient civilization died, but perhaps even more importantly, how it truly lived. For centuries, Pompeii has fascinated historians, archaeologists, scientists, and travelers alike. At first glance, it may seem that the city's greatest importance lies in the dramatic story of its destruction. Yet the true value of Pompeii is not found only in the tragedy of its final hours. Its greatest gift to history is the extraordinary window it opened into the everyday lives of ordinary people. Unlike many ancient cities, where centuries of rebuilding erased earlier generations, Pompeii remained frozen in a single moment. It preserved not the lives of emperors or famous generals, but the routines, homes, businesses, and personal belongings of thousands of ordinary citizens. Before Pompeii was excavated, much of what historians knew about ancient Rome came from literature written by wealthy authors, politicians, or philosophers. These sources described emperors, military campaigns, political debates, and great public events. They rarely focused on the daily experiences of bakers, shopkeepers, farmers, doctors, craftsmen, or children. Pompeii changed that completely. Archaeologists suddenly found themselves exploring an entire city where ordinary life had been preserved almost exactly as it had existed on the day of the eruption. Walking through Pompeii today reveals details that no ancient writer ever recorded. Bakery ovens still contain traces of burned bread. Wine shops remain lined with large clay jars that once stored drinks for customers. Political campaign advertisements are still painted across building walls, encouraging citizens to vote for local candidates. Shop signs identify businesses that served the community nearly 2,000 years ago, while graffiti scratched into plaster walls preserved jokes, greetings, advertisements, declarations of love, and even everyday complaints. These simple messages remind us that the people of Pompeii were not so different from ourselves. They celebrated friendships, argued with neighbors, supported political candidates, fell in love, and left humorous messages for others to discover. The city has also transformed our understanding of Roman medicine. Excavations uncovered surgical instruments that demonstrate an impressive level of medical knowledge. Bronze scalpels, forceps, probes, and specialized tools revealed that Roman physicians performed procedures requiring remarkable precision. Although medicine was far less advanced than today, many of these instruments closely resemble those used in modern operating rooms, showing how carefully Roman doctors approached their profession. Pompeii has also taught historians about ancient engineering. The city's streets were carefully designed with raised sidewalks that protected pedestrians during heavy rain, while large stepping stones allowed people to cross flooded roads without getting their feet wet. Beneath the streets lay an organized drainage system, while aqueducts continuously supplied fresh water to fountains, baths, workshops, and many private homes. Public buildings were constructed using techniques that demonstrated remarkable planning, durability, and attention to detail. Even after nearly 2,000 years, much of this infrastructure remains visible. One of the most surprising discoveries involved food. Carbonized loaves of bread, preserved fruits, grains, olives, nuts, fish sauce containers, and cooking utensils have allowed researchers to reconstruct Roman diets with extraordinary accuracy. Scientists have even identified traces of spices imported from distant provinces, revealing how global Roman trade had already become. Stable isotope analysis of human remains has further expanded our understanding of nutrition, showing differences between the diets of wealthy citizens, laborers, and enslaved individuals. Perhaps the greatest lesson Pompeii offers is a deeply human one. Walking through its streets today, it becomes impossible to see the ancient world as something distant or unfamiliar. The homes, workshops, schools, gardens, restaurants, and public squares reveal people who worried about work, cared for their families, planned for the future, and expected tomorrow to arrive just as every previous day had. preserving their ordinary lives. Pompeii reminds us that history is not made only by kings and emperors. It is also shaped by millions of ordinary people whose stories are rarely written down, yet whose lives remain just as meaningful. The story of Pompeii is often remembered as a tale of destruction, but it is equally a story of discovery. Every new excavation has revealed another piece of a city that continues to teach us nearly 2,000 years after its destruction. Even today, archaeologists have not uncovered all of Pompeii. Roughly 1/3 of the city still remains buried beneath volcanic material, preserved for future generations and future technologies that may one day answer questions we cannot yet solve. Each new house, workshop, inscription, or artifact reminds us that history is never truly finished. It continues to evolve with every discovery. Modern archaeology has transformed the way Pompeii is studied. In the past, excavations focused mainly on uncovering beautiful statues, valuable objects, and impressive buildings. Today, researchers pay equal attention to the smallest details. A broken cooking pot, a piece of charcoal, a seed trapped beneath a floor, or even traces of pollen can reveal important information about agriculture, trade, climate, and everyday life. Scientific techniques such as DNA analysis, 3D laser scanning, chemical testing, and ground-penetrating radar allow archaeologists to investigate the city without disturbing many of its fragile remains. Every year, technology brings us closer to understanding the people who once called Pompeii home. One remarkable discovery has been the preservation of organic materials that rarely survive at other archaeological sites. Wooden furniture, food, cloth, fruit, and even the roots of ancient vineyards have left traces that scientists can examine. These findings have helped researchers recreate Roman recipes, identify the varieties of grapes grown around Mount Vesuvius, and understand how local farmers managed their land nearly 2 millennia ago. Pompeii has become far more than a collection of ruined buildings. It is an enormous historical archive containing information about nearly every aspect of Roman civilization. The city has also become an important reminder of humanity's relationship with nature. Mount Vesuvius still rises above the Bay of Naples, and although it has remained quiet since its last eruption in 1944, it is still considered one of the world's most dangerous active volcanoes. Millions of people now live in towns and cities surrounding its slopes. Modern monitoring systems continuously measure earthquakes, ground movement, volcanic gases, and other signs of activity. Scientists cannot prevent an eruption, but they can detect changes far earlier than the people of Pompeii ever could, providing valuable time for evacuation if necessary. Pompeii also reminds us how fragile even the greatest civilizations can be. The Romans built magnificent roads, advanced aqueducts, impressive public buildings, and one of the largest empires in history. Their engineering, architecture, and organization were extraordinary. Yet all of that achievement could not stop the immense forces of nature. Within less than 2 days, a flourishing city disappeared beneath volcanic ash. The disaster serves as a powerful reminder that human civilization has always existed alongside natural forces far greater than itself. Yet perhaps the most enduring lesson of Pompeii is not about destruction. It is about memory. Every preserved street, every faded fresco, every baker's oven, every child's toy, and every handwritten message on a wall allows voices from the ancient world to speak once more. Pompeii reminds us that history is not only a record of great empires or famous rulers. It is the story of ordinary people who lived ordinary lives, never imagining that future generations would one day walk through their homes, read their words, and remember their names. As we leave the quiet streets of Pompeii behind, it becomes clear that the city was never truly lost. Buried beneath ash for centuries, it patiently waited until the world was ready to rediscover it. Today, its silent streets continue to teach, inspire, and remind us that every ordinary day is part of a much larger story, one that future generations may one day look back upon, just as we now look back upon Pompeii. Today, nearly 2,000 years after the eruption of Mount Vesuvius, it is once again possible to walk through the streets of Pompeii. Visitors enter the city through ancient gates once used by Roman citizens, following the same stone roads that merchants, farmers, soldiers, and children crossed every day. The deep grooves carved into the paving stones by wagon wheels are still visible, silent reminders of thousands of ordinary journeys made long before the disaster. Unlike many ancient cities that survive only as scattered ruins, Pompeii still feels like a real place. Its streets lead somewhere. Its houses still have doorways, courtyards, kitchens, and gardens. Standing among them, it becomes surprisingly easy to imagine life continuing just beyond the next corner. As archaeologists uncovered more of the city, they chose not to rebuild it into a modern interpretation of the past. Instead, they preserved Pompeii as it was found whenever possible. Broken walls remain broken. Faded frescoes are carefully protected rather than repainted. Empty rooms are left largely untouched, allowing visitors to experience the city much as archaeologists first encountered it. This careful approach has transformed Pompeii into one of the world's most valuable archaeological sites, where every stone still occupies nearly the same position it held on the day of the eruption. Walking through Pompeii today is unlike visiting a museum. Most museums display carefully selected objects inside glass cases, separated from the places where they were originally used. Pompeii is different. Here, an entire city has become the museum. Bakeries still contain their ovens. Taverns still face the streets where customers once gathered. Public bars remain connected by corridors that visitors can still follow. Even political campaign slogans remain painted across certain walls, reminding us that ordinary elections once mattered just as much to the people of Pompeii as they do in modern societies. One of the most moving experiences for many visitors is seeing the plaster casts of the victims. Although they have become famous around the world, standing before them in person is profoundly different from seeing photographs. These are not statues created by artists. They are the preserved spaces left by real human bodies, capturing the final moments of people who lived ordinary lives before history suddenly interrupted them. Some appear peaceful, while others reveal desperate attempts to protect themselves or those beside them. They remind every visitor that behind every archaeological discovery was once a living person with hopes, fears, and plans for the future. Pompeii continues to reveal new discoveries almost every year. Archaeologists regularly uncover previously unknown houses, beautifully preserved frescoes, workshops, gardens, inscriptions, and everyday objects that deepen our understanding of Roman civilization. Many areas remain closed, while careful conservation work continues, ensuring that future generations will also have the opportunity to learn from this extraordinary place. Rather than rushing excavations, modern researchers recognize that preserving what remains is just as important as uncovering something new. Perhaps this is why Pompeii continues to fascinate millions of people from around the world. It allows us to experience history not as distant legends or forgotten names, but as the lives of ordinary people who once walked these same streets. Their city survived because it disappeared. Their voices survived because everything around them was buried. In an unexpected way, the eruption that ended Pompeii also preserved it, allowing future generations to understand an ancient civilization with a level of detail found almost nowhere else in the world. As our journey through Pompeii comes to an end, it becomes clear that this ancient city is remembered not simply because it was destroyed, but because it was preserved. History is filled with cities that disappeared through war, fire, earthquakes, or the slow passage of time. Most left behind only scattered ruins and fragments of their stories. Pompeii was different. The volcanic ash that buried the city also protected it, sealing an entire moment of history beneath the earth. Streets remained where they had always been. Homes stood waiting for families who would never return. Shops still displayed the places where business had once been conducted, and public buildings silently preserved the rhythm of a civilization that seemed to vanish in a single day. For historians, Pompeii has become one of the greatest classrooms in the world. Every excavation adds another page to a story that is still being written. A forgotten inscription scratched onto a wall may reveal how ordinary people spoke. A simple cooking pot can tell us what families ate. A workshop explains how craftsmen earned their living, while a child's toy reminds us that even in the vast Roman Empire, childhood was filled with curiosity, imagination, and play. These discoveries allow us to understand history not through legends or myths, but through the quiet details of everyday life. Pompeii has also changed the way archaeology itself is practiced. Modern researchers no longer search only for magnificent temples or priceless treasures. Instead, they carefully document every object, every layer of soil, every seed, every bone, and every fragment of pottery. Even the smallest discovery may answer questions that have remained unsolved for centuries. Technologies such as laser scanning, digital mapping, chemical analysis, and DNA research continue revealing new information from artifacts that were discovered many years ago. In many ways, Pompeii is a city that continues to speak, not because new ruins suddenly appear, but because science continues finding new ways to understand the evidence already preserved. The story of Pompeii also reminds us of humanity's relationship with the natural world. Civilizations often believe they have mastered their surroundings through engineering, architecture, and technology. The Romans built remarkable roads, aqueducts, harbors, and cities that seem destined to last forever. Yet nature follows its own timeline. Mountains remain silent for centuries before awakening without regard for borders, wealth, or human ambition. Pompeii teaches us both humility and respect, reminding us that knowledge, preparation, and scientific understanding are among the greatest tools we possess when living beside the powerful forces of nature. Yet beyond archaeology and science, Pompeii leaves us with something even more personal. It encourages us to remember that history is made not only by emperors, generals, or famous leaders, but by ordinary people. The baker who prepared bread before sunrise, the merchant opening a small shop, the child running through a quiet street, the mother preparing breakfast, and the craftsman beginning another day of work, never imagined that their ordinary routines would one day become extraordinary windows into the past. Their names have largely been forgotten, but their lives continue to tell their story more powerfully than words ever could. Perhaps that is why Pompeii continues to captivate millions of visitors every year. It reminds us that behind every ancient civilization were real people who laughed, worked, dreamed, worried, and hoped for tomorrow, just as we do today. Their world feels distant, yet surprisingly familiar. Walking through Pompeii is not simply a journey into ancient Rome. It is a quiet reminder that every ordinary day we live will eventually become part of history. None of us knows which ordinary moments will one day matter most. And perhaps that is the greatest lesson Pompeii leaves behind. A reminder to appreciate the fragile beauty of everyday life. Because history is often written during moments that seem, at the time, completely ordinary. Thank you for joining me on tonight's journey through history. If you enjoyed this peaceful exploration, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. Your support helps this channel continue creating long, relaxing history documentaries designed to help you unwind, learn something new, and gently drift off to sleep. If there is another historical mystery or forgotten civilization you would like to explore in a future episode, feel free to share your suggestion in the comments below. I always enjoy reading your ideas. And now, wherever you are in the world, I hope you can leave behind the noise of the day, slow your thoughts, and enjoy a peaceful night's rest. Thank you for spending this time with me. Sleep well, and I'll see you in the next journey through history. Good night.